Please introduce me. I'm curious what I'm gonna hear.
As little as possible. This is my friend Jagna, and she's been to Japan many, many times, and I want to get her perspective on things here because she has lots of opinions. How many times have you been to Japan, do you think? 20?
More than 20.
Yeah. But always
Just
for a short time.
And just once for travel.
You ever think you would want to live here? You've thought about it before, right?
Yeah, I thought about it a couple of times, and I still don't know.
Why would you want to live here? What are the good things about living here, do you think?
I think I would like to spend some time here. I don't know about living. For living, for sure, I would have to know the language. So this is
nothing stopping you from studying Japanese.
Stopping. So just to improve on that. But yes, to live in Japan, I'm sure you have to know the language. But to spend some time here, for sure, mostly for the nature and exploring more. So the unexplored things. Like that's why I would like to spend more time here.
There's something you don't hear a lot about Japan is how amazing the nature is. Because you have like all of Japan's like looks like shaped like a banana, right? But like only the very outside of everywhere is where people live, basically. And all the rest is all like mountains and forests and lakes and stuff like that. So
this is what I would like to explore more.
Yeah. No, I've got a friend who I tried to set you up with last time, not that way, but for a tour, he does tours called Unbeaten Japan. So he loves all that stuff that, he will go to rivers and waterfalls in the middle of nowhere, and he knows where all these great places are and there's amazing pictures, and pretty sure he's a nudist. So he's married.
I like bikinis.
You can wear a bikini. Maybe he likes bikinis too. I don't know. I'll have to ask him. And no, he seems like a really great guy. I've only talked to him a few times. But if you ever come to Japan for more than like 2 or 3 days, definitely I'm sure he could take you somewhere that would be amazing. As you know, I'm not that kind of like outgoing nature kind of person. But what is it about the nature that you like so much? Help me understand, Jagna.
I think Japan is very spiritual, Like
okay, how so?
It's hard to understand. It's just about how I feel, like about the religion here, this Buddhism, but also Shintoism, and the fact how these temples are always located in the some mountaineering areas, and they are all connected to natures, and these beliefs are connected and based on belief in nature as like the greatest power. So this is what I like, and you can as I said, it's more about how you feel. So I feel these spirits here. I don't feel them so much in the cities. I think it's way too much concrete. And today even I was going with the train and I was thinking, like looking at these buildings, and I was like, yeah, I'm not the greatest fans of these cities and the buildings. They are not huge buildings, but like the way it's very compacted. But I love the rural sides, the fields, the houses. I also like how Japanese deal with the space. So there is so many of them and very little space. So they manage to, organize their space so well. And they have these little apartments, but somehow they arrange it in this way that it's amazing.
Yeah.
So I like that, but it's not exactly how I would like to live. I would rather, now in my stage of life, I would like to stay outside of the cities in more like rural places.
Well, there's a lot of houses that are basically kind of free.
Yeah, let's go.
No, it's true. They're out in the nature. These houses that nobody wants because these people live there. They got old. They died, but their kids moved to the city long ago. The house is just sitting there, and the family has to pay tax on it. They want to get rid of it, and the government has intervened, and they set up this program It's called like Aika or something like that. It's empty houses. So what they'll do is they basically give it to you, but you have to promise to put $40,000 of renovation money into it. So basically, you know, you can do that. And one popular place to do this is Awaji Island, you know, the island that just off the coast near here. Yeah, there's lots of places there, and a lot of people are snatching them up. So there you go. Or maybe a retirement plan. About Shintoism, the interesting thing about Shintoism, when I learned about it, I thought, oh, that's paganism. Basically the way Europeans were a long time ago.
That's how we should be.
Yeah. About worshipping the land and about, you know, all the gods. For example, you know, you think about Christmas. We have
Isolis.
the tree. Yeah. We have the tree to celebrate how strong the tree is year round, even in the wintertime. And there was kind of like a god to them. It was like a symbol for them to also keep up their strength during the winter. And, you know, about having these feasts at certain times of the year because they have to eat all the animals before winter comes because they have no food to feed them in the winter. And so all these cycles of life, and Japanese go down to, they love to celebrate generalization. Japanese love to celebrate beginnings and endings of things. So they love to celebrate the beginning of every season. They love to celebrate the seasons, and they'll eat foods that belong to the seasons. And they, like, for example, summer, it means fireworks and going to the beach and eating watermelon. And autumn means like, you know, certain kinds of fish and chestnuts and persimmon fruit. And then even when they sit down for a meal, this is the way we're supposed to behave in the West, you wait until everybody has all their stuff. And then you say, oh, cheers, and then, okay, and let's start the meal. And they pray to God for thanks for the meal. Yeah, it's really interesting, and I understand the spiritual way of life. And I don't think in a spiritual way, but I think of spirituality more of like being in awe of nature. I get this feeling where I just look at something, like I look at the ocean or I look at the mountain or I just, a field, you know, where there's dragonflies flying around, it's just this empty rice field and you hear nothing, and I just, wow, that feeling, that's as close as I get to spirituality, but it's the same feeling, I think.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much it. It's very simple, but like, I think it's forgotten and overlooked, you know, but that's how I feel. So that's something I like.
And you just told me today you find it easier getting around in Japan these days compared to before.
Yeah, I think the first time was like around 10 years ago, I think, more or less. Yeah, so in the beginning, my first few times in Japan, no smartphones, no internet, like the way it is now. So I don't really know how I was doing it. Now I try to remember, and I remember when I was traveling with a friend, we were going to like internet cafe and going to the information centers to just ask for some housing when we were traveling, because there was like, we didn't want to go to the hotel, like obvious hotel, so we just wanted to stay like locally. And yeah, they were just telling us where to go, and these people were offering us tatami and a place to stay, very beautiful, exactly the way we wanted.
Yeah.
But how we managed, it was really great.
It's insane. Jagna, when I came here, I drove a car, and the streets have no names, and I had to like get from place to place, like, and I had a big book like this, a map book, and I can't read the map.
Yes, because
how did I find anything? I have no idea even to this day.
So my first time in Kyoto, I wanted to visit some temples, so I prepared, of course. First, I researched. I knew exactly where I wanted to go. But okay, then when I was there already, to find my way around, yes, I was like looking at these kanji and comparing them to the map, seeing if it looks pretty much the same. So yeah, it was like all about getting lost and finding yourself again. And this is pretty much what traveling is about. And I think it's a bit harder nowadays because everything is too obvious and
Right.
everything is just given and you don't get lost anymore so much because you have Google Maps.
I think you really do build a lot of character traveling like that, like when you don't know what's coming next. But you can still travel. Those places you're talking about are called minshuku. They're basically people's houses. You stay in them. You have the convenience now of booking them on booking.com. You can book minshuku on booking.com.
But still not so much. Like
Not
I
so
was
much.
trying using booking.com just to find places in Japan. I don't think many places is there, like comparing to other countries. Like I think Japanese use other things because I always use booking.com, which is I find very convenient, but I don't think it works here that well. Because I don't find so many, and I'm sure
Right.
there is more.
Sure. There is, in Japan, there are minshuku sites,
Yeah,
websites.
I'm
They're all
sure
in
a bit in
Japanese.
Japanese.
But if you take your Google,
Yeah.
Google Translate and use the camera function and translate everything, I'm sure you can find things. But you ready for matcha yet, or?
I'm ready.
Okay. We went to the convenience store to get some matcha. I think we have a clip. Oh, yeah! Look at that. But that's matcha with azuki, the red bean paste. Why don't we try it? You can leave mine.
To take one this and one this?
Yeah.
Another great thing about Japan is ice cream. Matcha ice cream and black sesame ice cream. These are my favorites.
Oh yeah, black sesame ice cream is amazing. It's one of my favorite actually. Whenever because you can have what? You can have like vanilla, or you can have vanilla or chocolate, matcha or black sesame. So what are you gonna choose? Of course, it's got to be matcha or black sesame. So which one you want to try first? By the way, the Haagen-Dazs green tea, I stand by it. You get my endorsement. I shouldn't be giving these companies free advertising, but it's really good. Oh, wow. Yeah. We've got to...
Looks pretty cool.
Yeah. So this is like a kind of matcha parfait, and it has little
Straight
mochi.
from 7-Eleven.
It has a little, It has little mochi with matcha around it and other mochi, and then has red beans.
Yes, red beans is another thing that Japan is famous for.
Yeah, sweet red beans are great. Actually, Haagen-Dazs made red bean kind of ice cream
This is
before
pretty
too.
cool.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with green tea ice cream. Come on. I like it. One thing I like about it is not too sweet. I don't like things that are too sweet. It's one thing that really changed for me. I came to Japan a few years later. I went back to Canada to visit. It's my father's birthday, so we had birthday cake. I love birthday cake. And I took a bite. Yeah, I almost fucking threw up. It was so fucking sweet.
The cake or
the cake? It was like, oh my! It was like I took a spoonful of sugar and just put it in my mouth. I was like, oh my god!
Yeah, that's the American way.
I was like, they changed the cake, and my mom was like, no, they make the cake the same. You changed.
Straight to your face.
Yeah.
So in Japan, there is something. Now I'm not sure if I remember the word. Umami.
Umami, yeah.
Umami. So it's about this balance in flavors, and this is spectacular.
Especially like kind of protein flavors, yeah.
But even any dish is like a combination of flavors that people from Europe are completely not used to, because you can get a sour, sweet, salty, sweet all together, and it's amazing combination, and that's how the greatest dishes are made, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think the same. And like one thing that's great about Japanese food, Mexican food, Italian food, Spanish food, they as much as possible, they just use the ingredient. Like you open up a taco and you can name everything in there. There's a bean, there's chicken, there's like salsa sauce, there's an onion, piece of onion. So it's not like all this processed stuff. They just combine natural flavors. So
yeah, but you can really like taste the flavor of food. It's not just of this thing that you are eating. It's not just like, I don't know, it's not just one taste. It's a mixture. So that's why it's so amazing, and it's this thing that I enjoy so much. Preferably, I go to these Buddhist monasteries because that's where they serve vegetarian food, because it's not so easy, but still they have.
I have the joy of finding Jagna gluten-free vegan places all the time, so that's good. But it's like that the restaurant we went to last time you came. It's called Ume no Hana. It's actually one of my favorite restaurants, and although they do have the pork shabu shabu, most of the stuff when we eat, most of the stuff is not meat, and I don't miss it at all. It's all that tofu stuff, especially the stuff that they put on skewer that looks like yakitori, but it's like these square tofu pieces, and when you eat them, they have the same texture as chicken. Yeah, that's great.
That's why vegetarian cuisine is so remarkable, because that's where you actually can taste the flavors. Meat eaters don't like to hear it, but the truth is that meat without the spices always tastes the same. And what makes the taste is actually spices. So you can spice tofu and you will achieve the same.
Well, I agree that, because if I have a choice, if I have salt and I've steamed or fried some vegetables and I've fried some meat, which am I going to use the salt on? Yeah, I'll use the salt on the meat. I usually don't put salt on my vegetables. They taste good just like that, especially if you cook them properly, where you don't overcook them. If you overcook them, then they kind of lose their flavor. They don't have that hardness to them anymore. But yeah, it's a good point. But salt also makes vegetables taste really good sometimes. Same with when I went to Koyasan and stayed at a Buddhist monk there, a Buddhist monastery. I didn't miss meat, and they had beer. They served beer there, which is kind of odd, because I heard that they don't serve beer, most of them, but I guess I just got lucky and mine had beer. It was really funny. We arrived there late in the afternoon in Koyasan. I was really hungry because I hadn't had lunch yet. I asked the guy at the monastery about a place where I could have lunch. So he said, "Oh, there's a restaurant over there." So okay. So it's around 4 o'clock or 3:30 or something like that. So he goes, "When do you want to have dinner?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to have lunch now, so I want to have dinner as late as possible." And he said, "So 6?" I'm like, no. I thought maybe I made a mistake in Japanese. So I was like, no, I want as late as possible. So he goes, 6:30? Mm-hmm. And I was like, you can't do any later than that. But they because they're in bed at 9. The whole place is shut down by 9. They're in bed. Because they wake up at 3 or whatever. So I was like, okay, I guess, I couldn't win against this guy. So we came back, and so we eat, and then after dinner she said, "Shall I clean off the table?" And I was like, no, it's okay. We had still had a couple things out there. It's like, no, we're just relaxing. So she said, okay. She comes back not even 5 minutes later and just starts cleaning everything off. And then she said, "Shall I set out the futons for you?" And I was like, no, it's okay. We're just, we're still drinking a beer or whatever. She comes back 5 minutes later, just starts putting out the beds. And I was like, what is with this place? And then I, of course, remembered again that they have to go to bed, you know. So they have to finish everything before 9 o'clock. So it's...
Yes, I was there as well, but they didn't ask us any questions since there was no communication. They just did it for. We just accepted the way it was.
I was there with a Japanese person. Oh, and I'm not a very agreeable person, so that's why I was like, you know, when you eat a meal, you just want to, okay, I just want to relax a little bit. We were talking, we were having a good conversation, yeah. So, and okay, so where are your absolute favorite places to go in Japan? Where are the best?
But I haven't been to so many yet.
You've been to more places than I have.
I've been here many times, but
Can I have a
majority.
list?
Yeah, I had the best part.
Yeah, you did. But
Because
I gotta have
you
one
are
bean.
late. You are late.
Oh, it's like shaved ice on the bottom. Matcha shaved ice with a little bit of ice cream. But you can put more ice cream on top of this. How about that?
Yes, so majority of my times in Japan was in Kansai region, so this is my specialty, this region.
It's true, yeah.
We traveled a bit, but that wasn't so much. So yeah, the Koyasan, I think, is one of these places actually, because this is what I'm looking for. Like, I'm more into these quiet sort of like places where you can meditate and just like submerge to nature. And I remember it was raining, because of course we were traveling during the rainy season. But it wasn't so much rainy all around. But back then in Koyasan, yes, and it was like super beautiful atmosphere because of this moss in the forests and this beautiful ryokan. Yes, so I loved it.
Well, as you know, I am not a huge nature fan, but yeah, I was amazed with that place. Again, you just feel like awe, and also you can feel like a sense of history there. And yeah, just walking through the forest up to by all those graves and everything, it's really serene, introspective. You almost feel like you don't want to say anything. Like you don't. Yeah. Not you. You always want to say something, but
that's not true.
No, I know me too. I'm super talkative, but I almost like didn't. No, seriously, I almost felt like I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to like disturb the nature with my stupid, voice. So no, Koyasan is an amazing place to go. Where else?
Yes, so I've never been here for Sakura, so
that's
something to do.
Shame on you.
I want to bring my parents actually, so I hope I'm gonna do it next year maybe. But for the autumn foliage,
yeah.
Foliage. Yes, I remember I went once to Takao village, north of Kyoto, and it's a beautiful place, like full of the maple trees. Here the maple trees have a little leaves, but they are very beautiful. And I remember there are very beautiful hikes there, and there are temples, and you can throw some clay pots to the canyon, and this is some sort of like a spiritual meditative thing to do there. You can make a wish with it. It's really cool. I like this kind of stuff.
I think they needed to get rid of the pots, so they just told the tourists some bullshit story.
Well, it all has some meaning, because when you throw things away, it's sort of like a symbol of getting loose.
We both know about that.
Yay. So let's throw more things.
Yeah, throw away your things, people.
And I remember I went, we traveled a bit. We went to Shikoku and Kyushu Islands as well. I remember I went to Beppu, I think that's the name, and there it's like a place famous for geysers and hot earth, and we were in this onsen that you get buried in hot earth, or like a volcanic almost
sand.
Mm-hmm. So this is the way of getting purified, and it was pretty cool.
I did that in I did that in Kagoshima, which is near Beppu. You want to combine these things? You want to put this in here? Yeah, it was cool. It was like right near the shore, actually. So it was at the sea, and they bury you with the sand, and it was really cool because of the weight of the sand. It felt really relaxing.
Yeah. What else? Like, of course, I visited these places around Osaka, like Kyoto, Nara. Beautiful places. Oh, I hiked Mount Fuji, actually.
When did you do that?
With Shimon, when we were traveling. It was the first thing we did. We flew to Haneda and we went straight to Mount Fuji. That was pretty extreme.
Yeah. What was it like?
Yeah, it was good.
Do you recommend people climb Mount Fuji?
Well, that was, I don't know how many years ago, but I don't know, at least 7 years ago, I think. And I think it changed. From what I know now, it's extremely crowded.
Yeah.
So I think I will follow some mountaineering influencer from Japan saying that actually there is plenty of other mountains around Mount Fuji and not only there to climb and have great views and, encounter with nature, because Mount Fuji is just like super busy. What I would do if I wanted to climb Mount Fuji, I would go in winter, but that's pretty extreme. You need to be prepared.
But I think technically it's illegal.
No, I think it is. Maybe it's changed, but it used to be legal. But yeah, it's like proper mountaineering. You need to be prepared. But it was an amazing experience. I did it. We left late afternoon. The whole hike is not particularly hard. Like, I could have done it very fast, but I was taking my time because the idea was that we stay there till sunrise. So I didn't want to get to the top too early because I was not having the greatest sleeping bag. So on the top it's very windy. So yeah, once my friend decided to stay in one of the places on the way, I decided not to. I just wanted to get on the top, to avoid the crowds in the morning, because for sunrise there are like unbelievable crowds going up. So yeah, I went at night. It was very empty. It was amazing, actually. I slept on the top. My sleeping bag broke. It wasn't great, but thanks to that I remember it. And the sunrise is spectacular. Although I remember that there was some music going on, and I don't know, it's like a little bit of a fair there. It's like, it's not what you expect from Japan exactly. Like, I would rather to have it very quiet, but it's not a serene experience. Definitely nothing from solitude, sunrises on the beach.
This is all news to me because, I've never done it. I went to Mount Fuji with friends, and we just drove up to like the highest station you could drive to. I think it's the 7th station or 5th station. And while I was there, I just saw black rock everywhere. And I thought, why in the hell would I want to climb this thing except to say, yay, I climbed Mount Fuji.
Well, it's a volcano, so...
And 20 years ago, yeah, of course, yeah. No, I'm not blaming it. I'm not blaming it for being on black rock. So I just thought, like, do I want to have like 6 hours of just walking up black rock to just say if I were the kind of person who wanted to like check it off, I climbed Mount Fuji. I guess I would have done it, but I wasn't, and now I wouldn't do it. If there was ever a little bit of me that wanted to climb it, I wouldn't do it now. If you want to climb Mount Fuji, get in a time machine and go back 20 years and climb it, because now I've seen pictures of how crowded it is. It's just insane. And I think it's way better, because I think I saw the same video you did about some guy saying, don't climb Mount Fuji, climb some other mountains. And he showed this one picture of this mountain he climbed. He watched the sunrise with Mount Fuji in his view. Like, that's way better. Wouldn't you rather do that? You're on this mountain and you can see Mount Fuji with the sun climbing up. Like, that's way more Instagrammable than just being on Mount Fuji. But if you want to check that box, I know what you're saying.
I don't think life is about Instagram. It's about experiences. So for me, I think it's it was good that we did it. I'm happy. Like, I like to climb the highest mountains. I think it's something special about it. So I think
but again, that's kind of like checking a box. That's the reason why people take a picture with
everything in
Instagram.
life is like that. You can think
Yeah, sure.
from one perspective, you know. It's just like it is like, but still, I think it's okay. I think it's okay. But if you don't have much time and if you can choose, maybe climbing something else. But you know, it's all about accessibility.
Yeah. I mean, if you really want to climb Mount Fuji and you know that there's crowds there, just go with the crowds and do it.
I've done a few mountains like that. It's just the way you do it, you know, like, for example, the way I did it, it wasn't crowded at all. So there's always a way around it. You just need to get prepared.
Sure.
It's usually connected with a level of inconvenience, but it's worth it.
So what are your favorite Japanese foods and restaurants?
Well,
we had great soba today.
Yes. The thing is that I always enjoyed sushi, but I don't eat fish anymore, and I'm very proud of it because I think there is just way too much meat and everything around, and it's just scary. But yeah, that's definitely very delicious food. But I don't eat it anymore.
Yeah. Well, there's sushi that doesn't have raw fish, of course.
Yes, so this is what I go for, but I've never tried in Japan. So I tried vegetarian sushi, but not in Japan. So in Japan, like what I said, as I said before, you know, these Buddhist-related places, they have the best vegetarian food, and the way they prepare them is like a fountain of flavors. Really, it's amazing.
So, by the way, if you go to most shrines or temples, they will have like a restaurant nearby, or not most. Some shrines or temples will have a restaurant nearby or a restaurant in the temple, and you can go there and it's not cheap, but you will get like 12 different items or 16 different items and all the tea you can drink, and you can try all these really amazing things, and most of the time you don't know what you're eating, but you just eat it and go, wow, that's really good.
Yes, and another thing is that they often have like a window where they demonstrate like how the food look like, and 95% of the time this is exactly what you're supposed to eat.
Not today.
Just not today. But like I like also soba noodles. I like ice cream. And you know, like they have these little stands where you can get a very good food with, I don't think, expensive. They are not expensive at all, and very fast, and nice cold beer and sake, and nice experience. Just sometimes communication is a bit of an obstacle still when traveling without a Japanese speaker, because there are places where they are just like not willing to cooperate at all.
Yeah.
It's just this is the only thing, but that's okay. Like, you can try something else.
It's not even like Italy or Spain where you go somewhere, or probably Poland, where you go somewhere where there's a lot of tourists. Somebody working at the restaurant will speak English, you know. Here, it's like you could be in the middle of the most touristic place in all of Kyoto, and nobody in the restaurant speaks English. They don't have English menus.
And sometimes you feel that they don't want you there. Like, you can feel it. And then I'm like, okay, then I will go somewhere else. That's okay.
Because, they didn't sign up for that. Like, they started their shop like 40 years ago, and, 40 years ago, there wasn't so many tourists in Japan. And then suddenly they have to deal with all these people who come here and don't speak Japanese and don't know what they want, and they want to change the menu, and they ask you, do you have this, and do you have this, and blah, blah, blah. And then, so probably they don't want us there. So, but what do you think about Japanese language? Like, you've learned some things, you haven't studied it, but you get by with some few words?
It doesn't seem to be very hard to learn comparing to other Asian languages, which are based on tonal principle, and it pretty much impossible for foreigners in a sense, like when you first come to the country, it's like pretty much impossible to
you can't even read the guidebook. Like they write out the words and you say what is written there, mo hing shi ko, like that, and then they're like, what are you saying?
Yeah, here it's pretty simple, so I think it's okay. I would love to learn, but it's just like never happened.
I will recommend a podcast. So what are some challenges you faced other than like language challenges? Maybe some things that you can't quite understand about Japanese, Japan or Japanese?
Now I'm pretty used to everything and I know what to expect, but I think like sometimes I feel like to come here is like nice and refreshing because it's so different and people are so orderly, but staying here longer, the same thing is just tiring because they are so orderly. Like staying in these lines, sometimes you are in a hurry and you cannot just like, it almost seems like you are not allowed to be in a different pace than the rest of the people. And sometimes it's kind of like, it's like,
and not only that, because that makes you sound impatient, there's some times where you can clearly see that they are doing something that's inefficient. And you have the immediate answer.
Yes.
They can totally change their restaurant or the lineup or the movie theater or whatever, wherever it is. And they just will not do it because that's the way they've always done it. And even when I've suggested things, hey, you know what? If you do it like this, then you won't have people lining up. Oh, yeah, well, we've always done it this way. Okay, well, just keep going then.
Yeah, sometimes it seems like they have some ways and they are even unable to comprehend your way of thinking. They would just like look at you blindly and that's it.
And we're not talking about some ethnocentric, like we don't understand the, like we don't understand the culture or whatever. We're talking about something very basic, like, you know, like somebody making something here and then walking 10 feet and getting something and then coming back, and you just think like, hey, you know what? If you put that thing right here, you won't have to walk 10 feet and come back. It's something really like that. It's not, we're not talking about, oh, you foreigners think you can just solve their problem right away. It's like, no, we're talking about really obvious things. But, and because part of the reason that goes on, that's the way we've always done it, is because they don't challenge authority. Young people or new people don't come into the job. They just assume that what they've been told how to do something is the way to do it, and that's the way it's always been done, and there's a reason for it. And most often times there is a reason for it, but sometimes there's not. But they don't say anything because they don't want to say, hey, by the way, why don't I just take the thing and put it over here? And then if they said it, maybe the boss would say like, hey, you know what, that's a great idea. Thanks to Naka-san for your great idea. That really helps us. Or sometimes they might say like, hey, you know, who do you think you are? You know, you just started working here, like shut your mouth. So you never know how it's going to work out. So they just tend to like not say anything.
Yeah, but another challenge is like when you travel by yourself and you don't have a Japanese speaker, sometimes maybe you have a question, so you better don't have a question. You better come prepared because you will find this answer by yourself way faster than asking anyone, even an English-speaking person. So this is my experience, and this is actually quite frustrating because whenever I ask for anything, like regarding maybe a train schedule or anything else when it comes to directions, I find the answer by myself, like way quicker, and sometimes like few times I miss the train because of that, because they wanted to be so thorough in this answer, but at the same time they were like incredibly inefficient, and they really, you know, like you don't want to be rude as well, because I felt like they wanted to help,
But sometimes wanting to help is not helping.
No.
Yeah. So it's like exactly what you say. Like when you come here, like, oh wow, people like really do their jobs well, and they're very helpful, and they're very kind and service oriented and everything. And then sometimes that is the exact thing that drives you nuts.
Yes, sometimes yes. So that's why I said like the things that originally you like so much and they look to you like so remarkable, with time they kind of start tiring you. And I think this is this cultural difference that is you can feel so strongly in this country, because there is like nothing that particular as Japan and Japanese people.
I have some examples of other countries where this happens. Like, for example, in Canada, everybody's friendly. But you get fucking tired of everybody just agreeing with you all the time and saying thank you and sorry. It's so, and there's huge generalization, I know. And the friends that I had in Canada, that, especially when I went to university, we were all extremely direct and open with each other. But and then a friend of mine, he lived in Spain. He likes to drink. He likes the Spanish way of life. He loves the food and everything like that. But so when he told me that, I said, "Why did you move?" He said, "I was gonna die." He said, "These people wake up and drink alcohol in the morning, and then," he says, like they go to bed at like 1 or 2 a.m. and then they wake up and they work again. And it's like. It was insane. So the reason why he loved Spain is the reason why he had to leave it. It was just too much.
Yes, there is something like that when I travel. I think that this is very interesting, that the thing, it's all about contradictions. But I still feel that Japan is
the land of contradictions.
When it comes to your emotions towards it and how you see it.
Okay, and how about traveling as a woman? You're a woman, right?
I'm a woman.
Never noticed, Jagna. Because we're such great friends. So how about traveling? You've traveled around here solo. What's it like traveling solo, or even traveling with a guy? You've traveled with Simon.
No,
you traveled with me.
when it comes to maybe. What you want to know, it's safety. Yeah, I think it's very safe. Like I feel very safe.
Yeah.
I've never felt like intimidated by anyone or anything. But I feel like that in many places, really. However, here I think it's reasonable. Like obviously crime happens, I'm sure, but it's just the general feeling is very good and positive.
I feel really sorry for a Japanese guy who tries to fuck with you. He's gonna be so. By the way, fuck with you means like fully try something. So just in case the language didn't.
Yeah, I don't know how he would do it. Yeah.
Like if somebody tried to touch, like somebody tried to grab you or whatever, it's like, hey, I want to like buy you a drink or something like that. Yeah, I feel sorry for that guy. Your mountain climbing, rock climbing, core strength. This is gonna come into action.
Yeah, they are a bit too small for that.
So anyway, okay. So yeah, it's safe. That's one thing I kind of wanted you to say. But what else, as far as like blonde-haired, blue-eyed, person, guy or girl walking around here, you get stared at all the time?
Not really. I think it used to be like that though. When I came here first time, I was traveling. Like I was in Kyoto a few times. I remember I was meeting some like school trips from Japan, and all of them wanted to take pictures with me.
Yeah.
And they were like really interested. I believe that this is exactly what changed, that now there is so many tourists looking like me that I'm not interesting anymore.
Oh, yeah. You're still interesting to me.
Maybe if I travel somewhere else, like less
well,
touristy.
Rural. Yeah. If you go to rural
then,
places.
yeah, but as I said, like recently, just this area. So this is like, But yeah, of course they look. They also look at you in onsen when you are supposed to be naked.
Yeah. Supposed
Without
to be.
men, just females.
What do you mean
separately.
Supposed to be? You are naked in the onsen, right?
Yeah, it was just explanation. If somebody doesn't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're supposed to be naked in the onsen. You gotta take off all your clothes. Is it like kind of like an obvious looking, or is it kind of like the sort of?
Well, it is from the little girls, because they don't. They don't have this feeling that it's not nice to look, and then the mothers tell them not to look. It's pretty obvious. But yeah, they do look, you know, because we have certain differences.
Yeah, because
You just need to travel and see yourself to know what it is.
Because I've had that with foreign women who've gone into the onsen, the hot spring, and just had middle-aged women just come up to them and say, "Oh wow, can I touch your skin?" Like, you know, or like a black woman, "Can I touch your skin?" Or just talking about their breasts. "Wow, you have big breasts." Like, it's like, excuse me, like, can I, you know, even in English, that are limited English. "Oh, you're very big," whatever. It's like, excuse me, I'm just trying to enjoy my bath here. It's like, but I think they're open with each other about that, and so.
But they used to be very shy, and like recently, a few months back, I was in Tokyo, and I went to onsen. And I know how to behave, but I have a feeling that they presume we as foreigners, we don't. And this elderly lady started telling me off because she thought I didn't like take a shower before going to the bath.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, I got a bit upset originally, but then I'm like, okay, whatever, just... Yes, I did, and she started apologizing immediately. But like, I think they see a lot of breaking rules from our side, and they are a bit tired of it. And now it shows off like this, and it wasn't like that before. They were very shy, but now I think they are more direct.
I think they're getting tired of it because the number of tourists are just kind of doing whatever they want.
Yeah, but sometimes the whole procedure is quite complex, and
it is.
We lack explanation. Like we don't have it anywhere explained. And plus, sometimes they have their own little things that they like doing, and they think that the rest should know. And we really shouldn't. Like, if they really want us to do something, just try to put this explanation. And yes, it's more and more of that, but still some places have zero, and that's why I said you need to just figure out.
I think before you go to any country, you should look up the do's and don'ts of going to a place. Like, you know, you go to Thailand, I know you don't put your fork in your mouth. When you go to Italy, you don't, it's one person per pizza. I mean, these rules can be broken, I know, but you should look it up. But
First time I hear that.
But
but it's always one pizza for me.
But the problem is, that's why you've never heard it. But the problem is, with Japan, you look, like, just search for a video of do's and don'ts of Japan. Oh my God, the list is long. Like, I can tell you right now, easily, 10 chopstick rules. There are more. I can tell you 10 right now. I could probably list them. And those chopstick rules don't exist in other Asian countries necessarily. Maybe Korea. But, it's just so... Oh, look at the mountains. Oh, the fog around it. I love that. So, yeah, and then who would think to look up how to take a bath? You wouldn't even think to do that. And then when you get to a hot spring, you're like, oh, let's take a hot spring. And then suddenly you see the sign that says, now written in English, but like 7 years ago, not written in English. You just assumes you already know how to take a bath in Japan, but it's very proceduralized. And you're supposed to like get totally naked, put your clothes in a basket. There's no locker, no locks or anything. You put your clothes in the basket. There is sometimes some places a place to keep valuables, sometimes not. So you just kind of put your phone and everything in there, your money. Then you have to wash before you get into the bath. That's maybe not necessarily obvious. After you go, and when you go into the bath, you're supposed to go naked. You're not supposed to have anything, not supposed to cover any part of your body with a towel. Who's supposed to know that? Yeah, there's just so many rules, but well, look them up before you come to Japan. You can make your life easier.
And the thing is that, like, they think that sometimes maybe we are disgusting with the things we do, but sometimes when I look at them, how they do things in onsen, I find it not exactly great.
Yeah. Well, you've never been to the guys' onsen.
And I think it's a bit too much for a public bath, I would say. Like, you know, but this is, again, my opinion, and it's all about, like, you know, you go somewhere, you see the people, and also everyone is different, you know, like not everyone is so particular. There are some Japanese people who don't like to follow all of these rules, and they actually don't. So I think it actually started changing, and it started changing because they started being more exposed to others. And sometimes they just implement what they see.
Also,
it's not always good things, though.
No, but also, every generation is not receiving the education on manners that they did before. So, like, for example, in my time in Japan, I have noticed a drastic change in the in manners. For example, just one off the top of my head. Any person, when I came to Japan, any person, anywhere, if you said konnichiwa, they said konnichiwa back and they would bow. Anyone. These days, in my own building, people that I see often, I say konnichiwa, they have never said konnichiwa to me.
Really?
Konnichiwa, they don't say anything, nothing back. Sometimes I have go,
because
konnichiwa.
They are afraid that you...
It doesn't matter what their excuse is. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. It doesn't, not even Japan. When somebody greets you, you greet them back. And this is something my old kendo teacher taught me. He's like, aisatsu wa jikan mo okane mo kakaranai. It's greetings cost you neither time nor money. So just greet somebody, you know. But a long time ago, and even like up to like the last apartment I was in, a lot of people didn't greet me in the elevator, but a lot of people did, maybe half and half. The apartment I was in before that, you couldn't shut people up. They would greet me every time. I would, Ban-san, you know, konnichiwa, and it's like we would have little conversations in the elevator, like all the time. Everybody was talking. So and I just keep going back and back, and people were like way more friendly and interactive before. That's just one example of many. I've talked to you about my frustrations about train manners that have gone downhill in the past 20 years. Number one is when we're waiting to get out of the train, and the doors open and people are standing there. It's like, hello, how's this going to work? We can't go through each other.
Well,
you gotta get the fuck out of the way.
No, I've never seen it in Japan, because actually this is one of these things that, in my opinion, still is an extreme order. Because I live in another Asian city in different part in the Middle East, and the chaos there is it's difficult to express. But chaos, because it's just like. I think it's because of the different nationalities put all together, and everyone thinks their rules are
I know
are
we're
good.
way better here than anywhere else, but still, all I'm saying is that manners have decreased, and I think we talked about this today. Parents' responsibility to teach their kids to be as little a burden to other people as possible. In other words, teach your kids not to be assholes. Because when you do that, other people will like them, and other people will want to be friends with them, and then their world will open up to all kinds of relationships. But anyway, so what else? Anything else that bothers you? Is challenging about Japanese society?
I don't know. It's just like I have a feeling they think differently than us.
I think they do.
I would really need to get to know them better by probably staying here longer to have a better opinion about it. But my observation so far, and I met quite a few of Japanese people, is that just like sometimes the communication is very difficult, and it's not the language barrier. I'm talking about the English-speaking Japanese. It's like, whenever there is a situation to be like, let's say, to explain them like that you want something from them, like for example work related. I don't know, sometimes you can see from their faces that they have no clue what you are talking about. So you need to like find a way to talk to them, which I really don't know the way yet. I know that they use a lot of words. And but it's just, it seems they think differently, really. Like something very logical to me when I tell them clearly does not resemble their logic at all.
When you think about how closely language and thought is related, and then add culture on top of that, and then add just like communication styles and people's personalities, I mean, you can understand how Polish people would communicate differently than Colombian people, differently than Japanese people. So definitely there's a different way of communicating.
But I work with like a very cosmopolitan community, so I work with people from the whole world, and I'm in this position of supervising, so I kind of get to know like lots of different cultures and like ways of communicating, and I think that here there is something really special, and that's why like I would have to study it a bit more to understand why, but there is definitely a difference of thinking, the fact that they really find it very difficult to think out of the box. They really like, when, as you mentioned before, if there is something that they are used to, they just need to follow it, and to change something for them is like a huge like threshold. It's like a transcending thing almost. Like for me, I keep changing all the time. I can change like 180 degrees immediately if it's necessary. I have a feeling that for them, not at all. And really something stops them from execution even. You know, they find themselves in a very difficult position. So you need to really demonstrate like a lot of patience, and you have to have time to explain, because like you're not gonna have it if you're not gonna put it very like clearly.
It's really interesting, because I think once you live here for a long time, you do understand the different ways of thinking, and like basically everything we've said today, there's nothing where no point we mentioned made me think like, wow, why is that? Basically everything we talked about today is not a mystery to me.
No,
I know why.
For me as well, but it's just like it's just like that, and sometimes it makes it a bit difficult.
Well, I think it could be more of a mystery for somebody who hasn't lived here as long. But I mean, we talk about this. We talk about this with friends of mine. I talk about this with friends, because we have the same sort of like. We notice the same things that newcomers to Japan notice, but we also have like a kind of deeper understanding as to why. And so we notice them and even complain about things, but we also usually end the conversation with, but the reason for that is because blah, blah, blah. And we know why it is like it is. So for example, when you mention about not being flexible, it's when you understand the Japanese educational system, you go, well, that's why. They just can't improvise, and they can't go out of the norm, because everything they've been taught up to a certain age has been, you do exactly what I say and exactly the way I say it, and don't ask why, and don't think for yourself. And a lot of my students, when they have a question, they just don't ask. They'll sit there and not know and not do anything and feel stupid for not knowing what to do. But I think they would feel even more stupid asking, because they just haven't been brought up. And it takes a lot of like trying to be as kind as possible. And it takes a lot of time and patience for me to say, hey, by the way, when you have a question, you should ask. that's the quickest way to notice and to know something. And nothing bad is going to come if you ask a question when you don't know something. But it's really difficult to make them understand that. So because of the education system. And yeah, it's again big generalizations here, because some Japanese people have very little difficulty improvising. They have very little difficulty, or they have no difficulties telling you their opinion. And I have friends like that. But yeah, so of course.
But I think they might have had some exposure to other cultures, or no?
Or their father was kind of a unique kind of person who went at their own pace, or their mother was kind of like
maybe from artistic
yeah, could be
circles.
Because in every society you have conformists, right? And in every society you have a need to conform. I don't like to conform that much, but I actually realize the benefit of conforming, because you have things like order and law and safety, and nobody steals your shit, and people don't paint on buildings and stuff like that, like here in Japan.
That's nice.
There's a right.
Yes.
So there's this one of the reasons why Japan for me is some kind of like as close as you can get to a utopia, is because they've got this balance of personal freedom and personal expression and and conformity. They've got the balance almost right. It's too much on the side of conformity. I think they could be a little bit more expressive. I think for example the American way is like way too expressive and not conformative enough, and so you have people just bumping up against each other all the time because they all want to do whatever they want to do. But you have Japanese almost never doing...
You haven't met enough Polish. Like, for us, American people are extremely politically correct.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So in Japan, you have like... It's like, I wish people would express their feelings a little bit more, because I want to know when you want a sweater. I want to know when it's too cold. I want to know when that thing's too spicy for you.
I think this part would be extremely hard for me to feel like home here, because I really need in a relationship between people that people say what they think or want. It's hard enough with people culturally close to me, because they are not even like that. But yeah, here it's like another level of extreme, and
it is. Yeah,
it would be difficult.
There are people, like I said, you meet that are very straight, and there are people who, I've had a couple girlfriends, and I've taught a few people how to communicate more directly, that when they have something to say that they think maybe they shouldn't say, that in a relationship, especially a loving relationship, that maybe it's something they should say, even if it creates a little bit of tension at that time. Because, Japanese, like many people in the world, even like Canadians, but especially Japanese, they tend to go for the heiwa, the peace, over saying what they think they should say. So, but I try to explain that in the long run, saying something that causes a little bit of tension later will actually relieve all that tension. Like, if you don't like that I do this all the time, you should probably tell me. Say, Brent, hey, can you stop doing that? Like, it's driving me crazy. And I was like, what's wrong with you? Is that bothering you so much? So we have this little argument. But then I stopped doing it because I don't want to drive you crazy, and then it's better. But if I kept doing it and you never said anything and I just kept doing it, you just get crazier and crazier, and then probably you're gonna hit me on the head with a frying pan.
Yeah, but unfortunately, this is not only Japanese thing.
No,
this is my recent discovery and illumination that all people are like that. It's just in Japan you see it in a more extreme version of there is like a more extreme version of it, but all people are like that. So yes, the conclusion would be, let's be just more honest.
Yeah, it's really difficult. It's really difficult being a person who values honesty. It's not I'm not virtue signaling. I try to be as honest as possible. I lie like other people do too.
Yes, but like just like as much with like to be coherent with yourself, you know, like.
Yeah, and be honest with yourself and be honest with others. It really, in my life, as many problems as being honest and direct has caused, it has solved way more problems in my life, just being honest. So yeah, it's just worth it to be honest. Unfortunately, honest people tend to also trust that other people are capable of being honest.
Yeah, which is not...
And we're often disappointed that they aren't. So... So one thing about being honest is if you can't be honest, then you can't trust anybody because you can't even trust yourself to be honest. So there's no way you're going to trust somebody else because you think, well, if I'm lying about half the things in my relationship, well, probably they're lying too. And if they're lying to me, then it's okay. I lie to them and everybody lies. But somebody who's honest thinks like, well, I'm capable of being honest. I haven't told this person a lie ever. So probably they're being honest with me too. And then more often than not, those people find that at some point, oh my God, like a punch to the stomach. It's like, oh, that person wasn't very honest with me at all. So yeah, unfortunately it happens like that. But, you know, in Japan, I think you would be surprised at how, I think I talked about this before with Sean. There's a kind of naivety to Japanese people in a way. And I find that kind of leads in a nice kind of cute way, in an innocent way. And I find that sometimes that actually leads to some surprising honesty from people once you get to know them. Because they'll say things that like, I wouldn't even have said that, but they're just so naive about like, it's like, oh, this coffee's like super bitter. And it's like, I might not have said that to my guests, but they just said it kind of like not knowing. And he's like, wow, okay, I'm happy you said it. Like, that's really surprising. Thank you for being honest. And it's like, oh, did I say something bad? It's like, you know, so yeah, sometimes you can get really surprisingly honest, out of surprising honesty out of Japanese people. But again, like I said, my last podcast with Sean, it depends on the person. Like I said, do Japanese people hold in the things that they really want to say because they're afraid of upsetting the mood? Yes. But does a Japanese person do that? I don't know. You have to talk to them. A Japanese person, like any given Japanese person, might be totally outgoing, super artistic, almost to the point of being rude in being direct with you. And you might say, hey, I like this Keisuke guy. He's like super direct. And, you know, and then you might meet the typical Japanese person who won't tell you that they're cold if it's cold, won't tell you that the coffee's too bitter if it's too bitter. You know, you ask them where do they want to eat, they won't tell you. They'll ask you, where do you want to eat? You know, so yeah.
Yes, but this I don't take as a typically Japanese thing anymore because my experience around the world showed me that seriously majority of people is like this. Like the level of being like dishonest with yourself is striking. Yeah. So I used to think that this was very Japanese thing, but now not anymore. It's just a different, they just behave a bit differently. They are like, because we see them differently. It's like their gestures, they're like the whole, everything they do, the way they walk, sit, everything, pass. You know, they have their own little things that are quite cute. But yeah, when it comes to communicating, majority of the people is just on this conformistic side more. But what I like about here is that they are very clean. The level of cleanliness is amazing, and that they don't, you know, they usually take trash with them. You know, I see like they are so organized, and this is a very good thing. This is a very good thing that other countries and people should really adopt.
Can really take a lesson, yeah. Because when one person does a little bit of littering here and there, then the whole place looks like fucking garbage dump. Like you walk in some cities in Europe, it's like, Jesus Christ, people, pick up your shit.
And then you have to have these people who constantly come and clean, because if not them, it would look horrifically here. It's not even necessary. It's just like nobody does it.
Although I do believe... I do believe Japanese need to put out some garbage cans.
That would be nice.
Yeah. Because how many times have we had garbage?
The whole day I'm carrying my garbage
the whole fucking
until
day.
I go to the toilet and I just use the garbage can there, because it's just like, Yes, but it's okay. It's something I can live with. Yeah.
This just came to me. I'm going to say something out loud that I haven't thought much about, but the way Japanese care about, like, you ask them where, like I said, where do you want to eat? And anywhere's okay. Where do you want to eat? Like, kind of like that all the time. They're kind of, that behavior is more, it's like out of a desire to care about other people around them. They really always care about what other people around them think. But maybe other nationalities, their superficiality is more, they care about themselves or they care about what other people think of them. Not what they
That's for sure.
Not what other people generally think.
No.
Or if they're going to be disturbed by my actions or not. It's what are they going to think about me? So, people bullshit and make up stories, or they act, this way or that, or they just act purely selfishly without any regard for what other people think. I don't know. What do you think of that? What do you think of that?
I think this kind of this subject is just like a bit difficult for me now, because honestly, like I believe it's possible, but as I said, like I really believe that people around, they just they don't want to take decisions as well. They don't want to take this responsibility and weight of the decisions on their back, and they just prefer to just put it on somebody else. And then if it's a bad decision, they can blame somebody else, and it's very easy, and it's very, like, I see it a lot because I'm a person who is considered to be a strong-minded one, and I have this feeling, especially recently, I got into this conclusion that many people use me in this way. They prefer me to make a decision, but sometimes I really don't know, and I observed something, like I really don't know what I want, in a sense, like, let's say a restaurant choice, and I wish somebody else just decide, and they cannot. They are just unable to, because they are so convinced that this is me who should take this decision for some reason. And it's very convenient for them, in my opinion. Yeah. It's very convenient. They can do absolutely nothing, and in case of any failure,
they have always
somebody. They have always somebody to blame for it. So when it comes to like making decisions and everything, I think it's really like, it's just a human thing to put it on others.
Do you think there's such thing as a universal character or there are universal characteristics to personalities? For example, I think honesty is universal. I think that everywhere in the world, people know what's honest and what's dishonest, and people value honesty, even if they're not being honest. I think they know they're not being honest.
Oh, that's a very philosophical question. I think it's not. I would have to give it a thought. I'm not so sure if it's universal.
But I'm just asking you what you've observed from the amount of like different cultures that you.
That's why I'm saying I don't think it's universal. I think it's very much a culture.
Individual. cultural.
It has something to do with culture and your environment and how you were brought up, and no, the understanding of it is not the same.
I kind of think of it as like
because people really like that's why people actually this exactly is something why it makes these differences between people. Why in some countries is more possible to get robbed and in others is less possible. Why in some countries most likely when you go to the shop and there is no prices, you will get an unfair price first, and you have to bargain for a fair price. Why in some countries it's obvious that you're gonna get a fair price and there is no bargaining.
That's Japan.
There you go. So you see, I don't think it's universal.
Yeah, interesting. I would like to think that honesty is universal. And
you would like, yes. It would be nice, but
no, but I think if you ask the shop owner without the prices, if you ask them if he knows he's getting too much money than what the product is worth, maybe he would say yes, and he might even be happy about it. Maybe be happy about being unscrupulous, but I think he would understand the concept. Yes, I lied to the customer about how much this is worth because I want money.
I don't think they have this kind of thinking, because it would be not convenient for their well-being.
Right, I guess so. Yeah, like because there's something else about like justice and fairness that even animals understand. Like
because animals understand much more than humans. Let's not forget about that.
This golden topic for Jagna. For example, there's a famous experiment where, they gave the monkeys grape for doing some kind of like a trick or pressing a button or something like that. Then they gave one monkey one grape and another monkey 2 grapes. The monkey that only got 1 grape freaked out. So obviously knows that like, hey, I pressed a button, he pressed a button, and what the fuck is going on here? Because I only got 1 grape and he got 2. And so I think if you go anywhere in the world, I would like to think that if you go anywhere in the world, people understand the concept of fairness.
Yes, but the reactions are different.
Yeah, because we're all humans, we're all the same animal, and we all
we are
evolved.
not the same.
No, I mean, okay, at a basic level.
That's something,
instinctually,
different.
Because we all have, for example, fight or flight and, reproducing instincts and stuff. And then we have like areas of the world. And then in those areas, we have smaller areas. And then we have, it goes down to like cities. Cities have their own cultures. Neighborhoods have their own cultures. Families have their own cultures. And then each individual person is different. So we can be governed by so many things at the same time. I'm human at the same time as being Canadian, at the same time as being a guy, at the same time as being a musician at the same time. So I have all these influences that make up like who I am.
So yes, I would just like to rephrase myself. Maybe there are universal values, but they are all influenced by so many things. Depending where we come from, then they stop being so universal. So this, like, I would think it's more correct to think this way.
Okay, last thought on Japan. Anything?
Last time?
Last thought.
Last thought.
Because we've been talking for.
Generally, I love the country. I like coming here. It's beautiful. It's very convenient. Sometimes it's tiring, but the experience is spectacular. You can really get lost in translation here, but I like getting lost sometimes.
I would say check, except the tiring thing, because now this is just home for me, so everything's normal. But if I had to okay, where do I go next? And what time is? And then, like that, it's this constant little energy draining that happens, But otherwise, check to all of the above. And even now, living here for so long, I still get these lost in translation moments too. So it's a really beautiful place to live. It's always fresh. Like people ask me like about moving back to Canada. It's like, or why did I move here? When I was in Canada, I could see my whole life ahead of me.
Yeah.
So clearly. I just saw it. But even now in Japan, I have a broad image of kind of where I'm going, but there's still so many challenges here that it's not really clear what is going to happen. And I like the kind of daily challenges sometimes.
Yes, I like this thing about living abroad. Abroad meaning from your place where you were you were born. I think this is something that really changes you and like becomes part of you, and it's just like more interesting.
Well, next time vegetable sushi and some asahi. How about that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.